Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a closer look at the EP500 Pro. We have two of them, so that means we're going to be paralleling these two together and we're going to get split phase. So we're going to be getting 240 volt using the split phase Fusion Box Pro. And that's that box right here. Okay, we're going to be hooking this up to the EP500 Pros. First thing we're going to do, I'm going to go through these, show you some of the settings, and then show you some of the connections. We have all the different connections right here. We'll go through each one of them. But let's start with one of them first and just go through it and kind of do an quick overview of the EP500 Pro. First thing you're going to notice on the back of the EP500 is this really big exhaust fan. Goes down to where the handle is. And right on the bottom, that's where your main switch is located. Okay? And if you can look to the side right here, this is where your ground. You can actually ground this unit. First thing you're going to do is turn on your main switch. Flip that on. Once you get your unit turned on, we'll start on the top. I've already gone through this, but I just want to kind of do a quick overview. You have your two wireless chargers on the top. They're both 15 amp. This is where all your DC. You have an aviation plug, 12 volts, 30 amps. Over here, you have a cigarette lighter style plug, 10 amps. Plug in 12 volts and another one right here. They're both 10 amps. You can see right here is the DC 5521 plugs. Two USB 100 watt and four USB 18 watts. Okay, so these two on the top are 3 amps and down on the bottom, the blue ones are 18 watts. This is your intake right here. This is where the air goes into the EP500 Pro, and I showed you the back. That's the exhaust. Another handle on front. This thing weighs 185 pounds, so if you plan on lifting it up, that's going to be hard. It's really heavy. Right on the bottom, you got your 4-pin 30 amp plug, 420 volt plug right here. Open this up. This is where all your inputs are. You have your AC input, DC input, which you use for solar charging, and this plug right here, communication interface, that's what you use when you're trying to hook up two of these so they can communicate to each other. So you plug one in here and the other one will come right here. That helps them communicate so you could get your Fusion box hooked up. All right, so let's turn it on and go through some of the settings. Push that button once. It will initiate boot up. Okay, see how fast that was? 2 seconds. It's storing an alarm because go to next. Split phase. And I'm go back to single phase. There you go. All right. So because I was in split phase, you're going to get that alarm. When I turn on the other one, it's going to have the exact same alarm. So it was in split phase. I need to go back to single phase because it's not connected to the second unit. So I just showed you how to go through that. All right, let's go back home. This is where you get all your kind of like an overview. You have solar power, DC load, grid input, and your AC load. This is where you turn your DC on and off. You hit that once, it will give you DC on. You come right here, you hit this, AC on, hit it again, DC off, AC off. You can hear those relays clicking. Settings, this is where you pick your language. AC output, you have 100 volts and 120 volts. AC output frequency, you have 50 and 60. You'd have to pick those. On DC input 1 and 2 comes to this cable right here. So if you come right here, you have two of them. You see you have PV1 and PV2. So you could actually have two separate PV. That's where you would select which one you wanted to use. If you're doing like a generator source or any other 12 volt, you just switch it. If you're using solar panels, you keep it on PV. Okay, make sure I don't get a glare on here. All right, next. Over here, you have a buzzer setting. Eco mode, the only thing that means is if you're not using any power, it will shut the inverter off. Machine, this is where you pick single or split phase. Get out of that. Working, come right here. You could have a standard UPS, meaning you have it plugged into your wall. It would not use the battery power. It would just use the AC. Once you lose power, it would turn the UPS on and you'd start using your inverter power and your battery. You can do a time control, PV priority. The time control, you pretty much tell it when to charge, when to use the inverter, and all that stuff. So you can set peak hours. Like let's say you have a certain time when it costs more electricity, you could tell it start using inverter instead. PV priority, it would charge up to a certain percentage with grid, and then it would save the rest for your solar panels. Customize, you would set whether you wanted to use grid or solar panels. Yeah, that. This is if you want to use parallel PV or just single. It is Bluetooth enabled. I've showed you that. You have Bluetooth states disconnected. Wi-Fi state is disconnected. You can have buzzer. So every time you touch it, it will beep. I don't want that. Is your brightness right here, on and off. Brighter or dimmer. You can save a sleep timer. So when it turns on your screen, and date and time. And you can do a factory reset. That's pretty much it for the home and settings. You have data right here. You could find out all your information and your alarm. Okay. That's pretty much it for the display. It's the exact same display BLUETTI uses across the board. All right, guys, let's get them both together. I'm going to show you some of the cables and how they hook up before we do the fusion box. First one I'm going to show you is the 15 amp plug. One thing about this is you can come right here, go to settings. See right here, it says max grid. You click on that and you could tell it use 5 amps, 1 amp, all the way up to 15. So when you're charging from a plug, you don't overload that circuit. So that's pretty cool right there. Go back home. So this would plug into the wall. It only charges 1 unit at a time. So this would plug in right here. Line up the 2 white dots. This would plug in right here, then you screw it in, and you can charge from any generator or regular 120 plug. Okay, so that's the AC plug. Next thing, you have your solar input plug. This one right here, you plug it in right here. Just plug it in right here and go ahead and tight it on. You can do 2 solar panels. Remember, the EP500, you can do up to 2,400 watts of solar on this thing. All right, and you can also charge at the exact same time with AC input. So you could have solar input and AC input at the same time. bringing it up to 4,000 watts of charging. That's impressive. Next wire, that's the communication cable. So one would plug in on this side and the other one would plug in on that side. The communication port you have to plug in while you plug in your fusion box. This gives you 240 volt, and these two need to communicate with each other to do that. So let's get them closer together and get this connected. Let's do that right now. Shut this one off. Shut that one off. I like to plug everything in, get all the wires plugged in the communication port before I turn them on. So do that first. Get your communication cable. And you hook one up in this one. All right. So once you got your communication cables plugged in, you're good to go. Now you can get your fusion box. Plugs in right here. Okay. And turn. The second one, get your plug. Okay, so you have the box plugged in. Both of them plugged in right here. Communication wires plugged in. And now I would turn on my first one and the second one, let them initiate, boot up. Then you can do your split phase. Well, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. But there's one thing I want to show you before we do that. Remember how I showed you the AC charger for a single EP500 Pro? You have this cable right here. It's a 4-pin twist lock and 2 AC adapters. So you can plug one into the first box, the second one into the second box, and you can charge with one plug. So you can charge them both at the same time when they're in split phase mode. The one thing I would like to see, this EP500 and this EP500, I would like to connect both batteries together. Because I'm going to show you guys something. When you use these things, if you plug into, let's say this plug is for the first one, you'll realize that this battery is going down. So let's say you have your refrigerator plugged in 120 volt plug. It will drain this battery, not at the same time as this battery. I would like to see both batteries go down as a single unit, kind of like EcoFlow does. I'll have to double check that, but I would like to see this battery and that battery go down together. Let them work together. There has to be something you can do to connect both batteries together. That way, if you charge one, it charges the second one. That would be nice. So let's go to the settings. We have our communication cable plugged in, both ports, both AC plugs plugged in. Turn on your first one, turn on your second one. You're gonna get an alarm. Go to home, go to settings, next, and do it at the same time. Settings, next. All right. Pick which one you want to be the master. So we're gonna have this one the master. We're gonna go to split phase. It says slave machine. And split phase, master. You hit that. Close that off. Close that off. There you go. Split phase. Now, remember, it set this one to the master. So this is your master. Now, you don't have to turn anything on this one. You're just gonna go to this machine, hit home. Once you turn on the AC, you'll see this thing comes on. All right, so I'm gonna hit AC over here. I'm not gonna touch that one. Let's go to home. Once you turn the master on, AC on, it will turn AC on over here. See that? AC says AC on. Didn't have to do anything. Now, the split phase box is on. Let me get something to plug in here and see exactly what I was talking about. Okay guys, now I have a load. This is a small dehumidifier and I'm gonna plug it in right here. Let's plug it on this side. Okay, let's turn it on. Let's see exactly what we're gonna start pulling. You guys can see it all right here. I'm gonna turn this on. Okay, turn it down low. So we're pulling 292 watts on this one. Okay. The one thing I don't like. So what if I'm running this all day on this one unit? Does that mean that this unit is going to keep at 98%, pulling 0, and this one's over here pulling 291 watts? Okay. So what's going to happen after 3 hours running your dehumidifier or refrigerator? If the load is not balanced, this guy is going to go down. This one's going to stay up. If the batteries were connected together, they could work together. So your battery percentage will always go down together. That's the one thing I don't like. They have to figure out a way to merge both batteries. EcoFlow does it. BLUETTI EP500, it needs to do that too. I don't like that. This guy is pulling 306 watts. This one over here is just chilling. Unless you put another load on this side, you're only going to use whichever one. Now, we're going to do the 240 volts, guys. Once I hook it up to the house, we will see the 240 volts. And only then you'll see that one and this one working together in split phase when you have a 240 volt load. Other than that, they work by themselves. There has to be a way we can connect these two to work together, kind of like the EcoFlow Delta Pros. I'm going to do the exact same test with the EcoFlow Delta Pros and compare it to these. So just bear with me. So this one's 3,000 watts. This one 3,000 watts. So you got 6,000 watts of surge. I think they can start a 5-ton AC. And with this cable right here, you could hook this up to your 240 volt generator and use the UPS. So if you run out of gas, this guy would just take over. And at nighttime, you could shut your generator off and run off this. I'm going to be trying all this. Just this video is just kind of showing you the introduction. But then when I go outside and in the garage and plug this in, we're going to be testing this out. I'm going to use a 240 volt generator with this cable, check the UPS, run the AC, run the washer and dryer, run the refrigerator, fans. We're going to load it up. And solar. Remember I told you we can put solar and AC charging at the same time. So that's 4,000 coming in here, 4,000 coming into this one. You can have 8,000 watts from solar and AC together, or 2,400 solar, 2,400 solar. That's 4,800 watts of solar. So at first, when I first started working with this, it kind of, I wasn't too happy, but right now I've been working with it, kind of checking it out. I'm really liking it now. I'm really liking it. The only thing they have to work on for me is combining these batteries. I don't know how they're going to do that, but they need to figure that out. Either we can use the PV plugs and plug them together. Or they're going to have to figure that out because there's no way. I started this one at 100%. This one now, this one's at 98%, and now this one's at 98%. If I keep this up for the next hour or 2 hours, this guy's going to run out of power, and this one's going to be, so the split phase is going to drop off. Okay. Another thing I hate is BLUETTI refuses to put a remaining time. Right up here, they have the date, time. I don't need the date and time on the panel. What I need to know is remaining runtime. 8 hours, 9 hours. Give us some remaining runtime. Take that date off and put remaining runtime. I don't want to just see 98%. I don't know what that means. I don't know how long that's going to equate to. Just give us the option to see 10 hours like the Delta Pros. They give you remaining runtime. That's really helpful. When I plug in my AC and it tells me, hey, you have 3 hours of runtime, I know I have 3 hours to work with. If I see 98%, I don't know how long I have left. So that's what they need to work on. Merge these two batteries together. Get us a plug, a wire, so we can merge the two batteries together so they use power all together as one unit, because we have this to run as that one unit. So we should be able to merge these two together. So if you're running it in a backup situation, you don't have to worry about one unit going down together, because you can't just use one by itself anyways with the EP500 Pro, because you only have one leg on the 4-pin. So I would like to see those two things worked on. Get the time update. That's a simple update. Okay, so as you can see, this one's dropping. Done. It's dropped to 97%, and this one's still pulling 0. So I'm gonna hook up this big shop light on the other side right here. Let's just plug it right here. Okay, let's turn that on. Ooh, it's bright. Okay, now look at this. This one's pulling 52 watts. This one's pulling 330 watts. Why can't they work together when they're merged together? Right? That's all I'm asking. There you go. This one's back to 0. And this one's still pulling 328. I'm not saying the inverters should work together. I'm just saying that the batteries should charge each other. So once you're done with your the fusion box, and you want to separate them, you just go to the master, and the AC says AC on right here. You just go right here and you would hit AC off, and it would immediately turn both of them off. So this one says off and that one says off. You don't have to mess with this one. Once you turn that off, shut down your boxes. They'll shut down in a minute. There you go. There you go. Unplug your communication cable. Take these off. Take that one off. Okay, so the next time you turn them back on, turn that one on, you're going to get that alarm, because now it's in single phase. So it will remind you, there's your alarm on this one, there's your alarm on that one. So you just go home, settings, go back to single phase, this one, single phase, home, home. Okay guys, if you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment. More to come on these. You know, it's just a quick introduction of the Fusion box and the second BLUETTI EP500 Pro. I am going to be testing this on the house. We are going to be trying to run some serious load on these things and see what they can do. Guys, thanks for watching my channel. Always appreciate you guys leaving comments. Thanks guys. Have a nice day. Bye.